Have you ever thought about who is the most unpleasant character in Harry Potter? What if it's not Voldemort, but someone even more disturbing? In today's video, you'll find out why Dolores Umbridge became so cruel and what happened to her after the war. For many fans, Umbridge was the true villain of the series. Unlike Voldemort, who openly embraced his evil nature, she hid behind a mask of politeness and authority. Every act of cruelty she committed was perfectly legal. She never broke the rules. She created them. But why was she like this? What shaped her into the monster that tormented Hogwarts students? Before stepping into the castle, Dolores Umbridge had already built a career in the Ministry of Magic. Born a half-blood, she despised her own background. Her father was a lowly janitor in the ministry, and her mother was a muggle. When her brother was born a squib, Umbridge sided with her father, blaming her mother for tainting their bloodline. At 15, she cut ties with them completely, staying with her father. But even he wasn't good enough for her. As soon as she climbed the ranks in the ministry, she forced him into early retirement, ashamed of his humble position. Her career skyrocketed not because of talent, but because of cunning. She knew how to manipulate those in power, flattering superiors and crushing anyone below her. But despite her ambition, she never married. She longed for a pure-blood husband, but her disturbing personality drove everyone away. When Cornelius Fudge feared that Dumbledore was plotting against him, he sent Umbridge to Hogwarts to keep the headmaster in check. First, she banned practical lessons in defense against the dark arts. Then, she was promoted to High Inquisitor, imposing strict and absurd rules on students and teachers alike. Soon, she ruled the school with an iron fist. She outlawed student gatherings, censored mail, and even resorted to using a blood quill on Harry Potter. Her darkest moment came when she threatened to use the Cruciatus curse on Harry. But before she could, he and Hermione lured her into the Forbidden Forest, where she faced the wrath of centaurs, creatures she had long mistreated. Only Dumbledore managed to save her. After returning to the ministry, she quickly adapted to Voldemort's new regime. She ran the Muggle-born Registration Commission, sending innocent people to Azkaban. She even carried Slytherin's locket, pretending it was a family heirloom to hide her half-blood status. When the Dark Lord fell, she wasn't spared. Arrested for her crimes, she was sent to Azkaban, where she likely met her end. But what made her so cruel? Her cold upbringing, her obsession with power? Or was she simply born that way? Even J.K. Rowling admitted that Umbridge was as evil as Bellatrix Lestrange. And after everything she did, it's hard to disagree. The fall of Dolores Umbridge was only the beginning. The Ministry of Magic had always been a place of secrets, corruption, and hidden agendas. Even after Voldemort's defeat, the stains of his influence remained. Some officials had eagerly served his regime, while others had played both sides, waiting to see who would win. Their names were never spoken in public, but their actions shaped the wizarding world in ways most people never realized. Take Pius Thicknesse, for example. He wasn't just a puppet under the Imperious curse. Many assumed he was simply a victim, controlled by Death Eaters. But was he? Some in the ministry whispered that Thicknesse had enjoyed his time as minister. He had issued the orders. He had enforced the new laws. Even after being freed from the curse, he never spoke against what had happened. Was it fear or something darker? Then there was Albert Runcorn, a high-ranking official in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. He had built his career exposing blood traitors and muggle-borns. "Mary Cattermole, your wand will be confiscated," he had said coldly in the courtroom, watching as innocent people trembled before him. His loyalty to Voldemort was clear, yet after the war he disappeared. Some say he fled to America. Others believe he changed his identity. But one thing is certain. Runcorn knew too much. Corbin Yaxley was even worse. He had worked his way into the ministry long before the Dark Lord's return. He was there, lurking in the shadows, waiting. When Voldemort seized power, Yaxley rose quickly, taking control of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. It was he who ensured the unforgivable curses were used freely by the Aurors, claiming it was necessary for public safety. After the war, he was sent to Azkaban. But some say he never truly paid for his crimes. The corruption didn't end with the Death Eaters. Percy Weasley had once been blinded by the Ministry's power. He had sided with Fudge. He had written laws to tighten control over the public. The Ministry is not telling people what to think, he had shouted when questioned by his own family. Percy eventually returned to the right side of history, but how many others like him remained? How many had been loyal to power itself rather than the truth? Even Kingsley Shacklebolt Kiddit, the new minister after Voldemort's fall, faced impossible challenges. The ministry had been rotten for decades. A purge was needed. But how deep could he go? Many officials had worked for both sides. Some had cooperated with Voldemort, then switched their loyalty the moment he fell. Kingsley wanted justice, but the wizarding world needed stability. How many guilty men were allowed to walk free for the sake of peace? One of the darkest secrets involved the Unspeakables, the mysterious workers of the Department of Mysteries. Nobody knew how much they had helped the Dark Lord. The Hall of Prophecies had been left unguarded. The veil, that mysterious doorway to death, had been studied in secret. Did some of them serve Voldemort, or were they simply waiting for another dark force to rise? The most chilling rumours surrounded Madame Edgecombe, the quiet official who handled security matters. Her daughter, Marietta, had betrayed Dumbledore's army, but her mother had been the real danger. She had overseen the ministry's surveillance operations. She had ensured that resistance groups were tracked, monitored, and silenced. What happened to her after the war, no one knows. Justice was never as simple as good versus evil. The war had left scars. Some officials had been active collaborators, others had turned a blind eye, and some still held power, waiting for the next opportunity.